how how these people have kept people in poverty through not providing the right education for them to stand up for their rights. And I saw this myself when I came back to Nigeria, and I saw how a lot of people really did not know much of their right back then, or they basically have normalized um no normalized bad behavior. Should I call it bad behavior? I don't know what to call it, but you know they've normalized it. That I felt like the right one. I felt like it should be stand. For example, a police officer stopped me on the road. This was my first 3 months of getting back. Stopped me on the road, put a gun, carried a gun on the road, trying to talk nonsense, and said, like, "Let me search you. What school did you go to? What book are you reading? What is that?" And you don't have the right to do that. I asked the person, "Let me see your search warrant." I don't know much about law, but I know that like that some of the things that this person was doing was wrong. But because I was able to say it, I was saying it. My mom was like, "Benny Dake." I don't know if you understand. My mom, mothers. You see, your mother. My mother cared more about the gun, about the police officers, about these things than the rights. Like we don't know our right anymore, so we just let anything go, everything go, and because of that, a lot of people are just misbehaving, and the system is as a whole is just crap. And the more you have technology to educate people about their rights, the more you're seeing people standing up for their rights. The more you see people saying, okay, we don't want this government anymore. The reason why we can say this today and say we don't want this type of government is because we saw the other countries. We have something to compare to. And the reason why we could see that we had something else to make reference to is because we on Instagram, we are on YouTube, we are on Facebook, and then through that way we see how things work in other countries, and then we see that what they're doing to some of the time down here or the people in general is not justice at all. So technology has opened people's mind from that angle as well, and that is one way in which technology, from a social perspective, is you know indirect, like subconsciously solving the problem. Meaning that it's not that they had their, that the reason why Facebook was invented or this sort of social media was invented is to create this situation, but instead subconsciously is creating, is building this awareness within people, and then is gradually changing the narrative as a
All
whole.
right. All
So
right. I think I need to visit the question of electricity again, because it's a major problem for us in Africa and in Nigeria in the particular case. Because I repeat again, it is not logical that we should be in the dark like the monkey, like the chicken, like the birds in the air, they fly when there is sun, when there is no sun, they go to bed. That we should be regulating our life like that because we are living in the 21st century. So I was saying before, no, that
oh,
you see, the first computer that was built was actually a very huge machine that is called a computer. But that's a computer. The
100%.
same function of the telephone that you can put in your back pocket is the same thing that computer was doing. What I'm trying to
Yes.
say with that is that the first electricity generation needed to be very massive. And because we are no longer in the analog age, because we are not trying to tap more into this knowledge, this binary, this one, you just add zero to it, you continue to multiply the zero, then it expands in this digital format. Is it possible that we can have mini generation of electricity? By this, I mean a way that you can use a small app to further reduce the volume and therefore reduce the cost of generating energy and conserving it. A good example would be this electricity that is coming from the sun. Is it possible that we can have a technology to do this so that we don't really need to rely on the Nigerian government? We tell them, okay, you take care of Aso Rock. We can have light. We use our light to do what we want to do with it. I'm saying, how can we use technology to make the solar energy even more affordable to the people? What do you see there?
Solar energy more affordable. Yeah, 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 yeah. You see, a lot of what you're saying, you see, it's basically go back to what I said initially. A lot of what you're saying now goes back to the researchers, because you cannot be thinking like this without having to go through intellectual stage of understanding the core principles and then doing the research and seeing how things work, then put things into production and then commercialize that. Now you're asking about the science, really. What you everything what for what you can see, is it possible for us to have compact energy in a very small space and that could serve a larger, just like how we have computers that was once upon a time big, but now everything is now compacted, that is in your back pocket. I would say it is possible. I just told you that every single point in space, for example, has have enough energy to power your house. So, and with the right configuration of microcavities and further research that need to go into that, definitely you should be able to have something that can, something as small as your phone that can power a car. And literally, part of the reason why I'm actually working on quantum computing is is this specifically, is because of this specifically, the 0 point energy, um, you know, and but for me, however, I'm starting everything from a simulation and software perspective, because one of the ways in which us that are low funded researchers work is testing everything, all your work and everything within a virtual world, and seeing everything working perfectly before you start spending a dime on buying hardwares or buying or putting things together physically, because you've already tested, saw it in a simulated environment, and now you know that it's going to work. So I definitely would say that it's possible, but I think it's still in the research stage. It's the, that is it. And the other one I said about the microorganisms, that the energy, generating energy from microorganisms, from genetically modified microorganisms, and that is also solar panels. That's a different kind of solar panel. The kind of solar panel that we're using right now, you can only generate a certain amount of energy per square meter, because the amount of energy per time, or power, energy per time is power. But let me just, the amount of energy per time that is so. So I was just saying, what I'm working on is basically one of the things I'm working on. No, I'll say what I'm working on, and the reason why I'm doing this is basically, if you look at what I said, it's still the same thing when it comes to us working in education and creating an environment for engineers and scientists in Africa to be able to apply themselves rather than go into the marketplace and don't not have anywhere to apply themselves. We're basically creating a virtual environment for education and for research and for engineering. So you go through, if you want to learn, you come into the virtual world, and the virtual world, you're playing game while you're learning. So education becomes really fun. But if you don't want to play the game and etc., you can actually go into the virtual world, the same virtual world, and do your research within it, and practicalize any form of technology that you want to research, that you want to practicalize. And for me, I'm interested in quantum, and when it comes to the energy side of it, we're talking about the 0 point energy, and how not necessarily the 0 point energy. There's other aspects of energy in quantum in general. A lot of some of the energies that we're using today, they're from understanding how quantum mechanics or quantum information work. But the holy grail of energy in quantum is to be able to tap into that 0 point energy, which is also related to the fact that space and time is expanding is expanding all the time, meaning that at every single point in space is always moving away from each other. And the fact that they're moving away from each other means that there's energy there. And this energy is something you can tap into, and then you can extract and then use that to supply. So and if that be the case, then we can do all of those necessary simulations and how to build all of these simulations and how to build this nanotechnology, because it's nanotechnology, by the way. That means it can fit into your pockets, and that means you can power your car. And we can do all of these simulations within this virtual world, and do our calculations, do all the engineering before we start printing it out. Thank God we have 3D printers, so it makes it easy. So we can literally just do everything within this virtual world, and then do 3D printing, and then publish that and start commercializing that. So, and again, what your question is goes back to the need for researchers for us to be strong and strong with research, from research all the way to commercialization. Turning research to capital, because the capital is needed to keep the or everything stable.